r/ask Reddit. What is the most petty thing you've done in your life? My first husband was having an affair. I knew the woman and she knew me. About a week after I asked my husband to move out, I was at Trader Joe's when I saw the other woman. She was asking where these raspberry gel filled chocolate sticks were. I grabbed every single one before she had a chance to get to the aisle. I am so impressed. That is so perfectly petty and also really fast thinking on your part. I hope you waited by her car in the parking lot and just slowly ate them all in front of her while making unbroken eye contact. Not me, but my brother. He had a girlfriend for a few years and they had a bad breakup. My mom has one of those collage frames with like 12 photos in it, and one of them included her. He took the photo out of the frame, scanned it, photoshopped her out of it, replaced her with Mr. Furley from Three's Company, printed the altered photo, and put it back in the frame without telling anyone. None of us noticed until 2 years later. My grandfather does this with pictures of my dad's exes, though he just cuts a picture from a magazine and adds it behind the glass. My favorites were the fully robot-faced Terminator and JD from Scrubs. Thank you both for solving the only problem with my sister's illustrious dating career. No more. What was that guy's name? Now it's, remember when you brought Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to Thanksgiving? This entitled us woman on the tube a few weeks ago, decked out head to toe in designer clothes, toting her Louis Vuitton bag, constantly pushing me and snapping at me for bumping into her as the subway moves along. It's effing crowded. We're all bumping into each other and I have nowhere else to stand. She mumbled something to me and I only caught the word beach. She also put her bags down on 2 seats and refused to move them because her bags deserve a seat more than the rest of us standing around. Suru, I secretly stuck the gum I was chewing in her coat pocket when she turned her back to me. Hope she enjoyed finding that. Years ago I worked as a seasonal employee of a large liquor store chain during the Thanksgiving New Year's rush. Probably about 40-50 employees in store at any given time. We had a game we would play anytime we went up to a customer to ask if they needed any help if they were rude with their reply. We let the word get around to all the other floor employees and every 1-2 minutes have someone different go up to that customer to simply nicely ask if they needed any help. 100% used to do this at Best Buy. If you're rude and suddenly notice everyone is bothering you, it's no coincidence. I dunno. I feel like you guys at Best Buy do that no matter what. Are you looking for anything in particular? No. Just browsing. Thanks though. 3 paces later another employee approaches. Can I help you find something? No thank you. Just looking around. Repeat until all 15 employees in a dead store have approached. Went back to someone's Instagram profile and unliked all the pictures I had previously liked. I once saw someone post a thanks to everyone who helped me make it to 5,000 followers or something and noticed that they were at exactly 5,000 followers. So I unfollowed them. My son's 3rd grade teacher kept sending home printed newsletters and informational documents that contained numerous misspellings and grammatical errors. I finally snapped and corrected one of them with a red pen and sent it back. Nothing changed, of course, except that I felt like an ass to it. As a teacher, I'd just be impressed a parent reads my newsletters. You just reminded me, when I was in the army, the CO would send out a newsletter monthly. The XO and 1SG would throw in a few words as well. He knew no one was reading them. Not maliciously. He was just a realist. So for 3 months in a row, he threw in a sentence that said something along the lines of, the first 5 people that email me saying they read this newsletter get to leave after lunch on whatever day. Then he'd call us out by name at our after lunch formations. Come sign out. See ya. Dude was the best CO I ever had. Down to earth. Didn't bullshit anyone. And rewarded good behavior with positive reinforcement instead of the standard army yelling. I don't know why what you said reminded me of that. I couldn't stand dad's new wife. So every time I walked past their framed wedding picture I would lay it face down or turn it backwards. I was 16. As far as teenage rebellions go, this is pretty tame. And yet it got the message across perfectly, I bet. Oh, this brought back a memory. Before my mom married my now ex-stepdad, I made a top 10 list of my biggest fears in a notebook. Most of it was pretty generic, but number 1 was mom getting married to ex-stepdad. I left it open on my nightstand for her to find when she came to wake me up in the morning. I was 10. A guy cut me off in traffic only to get caught right near me in a traffic jam. I shot his car with a rubber band. A long time ago, I would fling gummy worms at cars that misbehaved in traffic. If you lick them before throwing them, they could end up sticking for a long time. My side of the garage is bigger than the other guy who rents its side and would park all the way towards the wall so he could fit his truck, and they're using a bit of my side. I didn't mind it as I could fit my car, a workbench, and a spare set of tires in the garage fine still. I found him using my tools and using the hood of my car as a bench for tools, scratching the hood badly. I park as close to the center line of the garage as I can, still being on my side. His monstrosity of a truck is wider than his side of the garage. I effectively have blocked a guy from using the garage he pays for whenever I can get there, and he is not there. It gets better. 2 months ago he parks directly down the middle of the garage, taking up both spaces in retaliation. I called my landlord and had him towed. I've only seen him parked in the garage about 3-4 times since, and he always parks as far to his side as he can now. Maybe not petty, but some of these stories reminded me of this. I was working as a delivery driver for the pizza place I now run. I walk out back to take an order and saw some customers leaving. They casually set a bunch of trash outside their car and drove off. So I drive up next to it and pick it up, with plans to throw it away when I get back from my order. On my way there I stop at a gas station for something, and what do you know? There they are. Both got out of the car and walk inside with their windows down. So I park next to it, toss their trash back in their car with a couple pieces of my own, and a takeout menu from our restaurant D. I want to high five you. My roommate took things from me all the time. I shared food with her. I wiped snow off her car in the morning before school. One day I asked her if I can have one of her water bottles, and she was so weird about it. Not surprising to me, but I was kinda sick of her selfish shit. So I changed the password to my Netflix, told her my parents unsubscribed, and I logged into Netflix on my Xbox with my girlfriend's account. So when she tried to come into my room to see if I was still using my Netflix, she saw I was using someone else's. She used my account for 5 years. I was done. You know shit gets real when the Netflix password gets changed. She took my last water bottle without hesitation, but she couldn't give me one from her new pack. Still bitter. Years ago, I had to share an office with my supervisor, who was a loud, obnoxious, bullying bitch. She was always calling out sick from work, but she'd bring in gardenias when they were blooming. Gardenias have a scent that immediately gives me headaches, and their scent is strong in a small space. Despite telling her about them affecting me, she continued to bring them in. Did you know that if you pinch the white flowers, they turn brown and die faster? I'd pinch the hell out of the flowers while she was out sick. When she would come back, she'd always comment that these never lasted as long as the ones she kept at home. Eventually, she stopped bringing them in. To this day, she doesn't know it was me. She's lucky you only got a headache. I once accidentally triggered an asthma attack in a co-worker. Workplace had a scent-free policy that I didn't know about. It was my first week. I was only wearing one tiny spritz of perfume on my wrist, but she had a coughing fit and left work for the day. I tried washing it off and moving to the other side of the office. I was asked to leave as well. I felt so horrible. I now always make sure anything I use is unscented and am aware of other sensitivities. Your supervisor just sounds like an a-hole. You did the right thing. I bought an umbrella on Amazon for $5. I live in CA and we don't get a lot of rain, and a co-worker I gave rides home to kept talking shit about what a stupid purchase it was. Lo and behold, it rains one day shortly after. On my lunch I parked further away from my close parking spot. He asked to share the umbrella on the way to my car. I said no, since he thought it was such a stupid purchase. Anyone who calls a sensible purchase, like an umbrella, stupid really needs to reevaluate what they consider stupid or not. I really hate my stepmother. She just sucks. A few years ago she had back surgery. For the recovery period, her doctor told her to stop smoking until it was healed. She had a carton at home already, so she regularly smoked anyway. When she ran out, my dad told me under no circumstances am I to go her cigarettes. So one day, she asked me and gave me cash. I said I would, then just went to a buddy's house and ignored her calls until my dad got home. She told him I stole the money from her purse. We all sat down and he was yelling at me, and when he asked me to explain myself, I told him she gave me the cash to go get her cigarettes and here is the money back. He ducking blew up on her. I just smirked at her the whole time. Bought all the chicken. Expanded version. I was looking for diced chicken breasts when an old lady entered the aisle, saw me standing in front of the chicken section and just started beaching. I want chicken. I can't get to the chicken. To a passerby, I just want to see the chicken but someone is in the way. If she just waited 10 seconds, I'd have found what I wanted and left. But no, she wanted chicken and she wanted it now. I picked up every single bit of chicken in the shop, walked past her as she was spluttering, and bought a lot of it. As I was paying, I heard her complaining to a manager, "You're just going to let her buy all the chicken? Madam, I can't stop a customer buying our products. But why does she even need to buy all the chicken? I wouldn't know. Perhaps she's hosting a banquet? Took months to get through it all, but it was worth every chicken dinner and my cat was rather pleased with it too." Years ago, a boyfriend at the time split up with me for a girl much younger. I was working in a pub at the time, so got her barred from there and then barred from my local pub where they also tried to go, in front of all our friends. She was asked to leave at 9 PM as it was illegal for a child, she was 15, to be in the pub unless eating. There was no restaurant. I still giggle about this 20 something years later. So petty. High school bully was applying for a job at a place I worked. Manager asked me what I thought about him. He didn't get hired. I'm an attorney at a large corporation, and I had a really bad experience with an attorney representing the counterparty on a contract negotiation. She was rude, overly aggressive, and just really difficult all around. I work in an area in which that type of behavior just isn't necessary. It's rare that any attorney acts that way. About 4 years later we had an opening in the legal department and she applied for it. I told my boss all about the experience I had with her. She didn't get hired. There was a guy at work I couldn't stand. Total Patrick Bateman cliche. Egotistical. Took credit for my work etc. He was really shallow and status driven, so he was very invested in where he was seated at work conferences. He felt he should be positioned near senior people that reflected his delusional status. We had quarterly and annual conferences, so every single time I would sneak in early and secretly move his name card to some random spot in the back of the room next to junior team members. It always gave me great pleasure to see him quietly seething next to the interns. My mum's friend made a bunch of prostitute calling cards with her husband's mistress's phone number on them and left them in various phone boxes. This was in the days before everyone had mobile phones and internet. Apparently, the police that gave her a warning found it as funny as I did. Joke's on you. She found the extra income useful. When my ex-husband and I separated, he pretty quickly moved in with another woman. I still had the spare keys to his car, so every few days for weeks, I'd drive by his house and press the button to open his trunk. This is my favorite because it's not just petty, it's like psychological torture lol. He probably took it to the mechanic and had it checked out and they said nothing was wrong. Or got really paranoid that someone in the neighborhood kept breaking into his car. Relatively harmless but probably drove him crazy. I love it. My cousin was cheated on the day before her wedding. She had his garage open so she would drive by his house and open the garage door. Went on for like 5 years. When I was in university, a roommate was being a dong. When he was out, I went on his computer and deleted the .exe file on Fallout. The game I let him borrow no longer worked. When he asked to have the game to reinstall it, I told him I lent it to my cousin and didn't have it. I still had it. This was back in 1999. I don't believe you could restore the deleted file. You could. He didn't know how. I created a social media account just to block someone on it. I've refriended people who unfriended me years ago just to unfriend them. The girl moving into my room after me had the gall to demand I move out early to accommodate her. Then asked if I would leave shelves I'd installed and my AC unit, but refused to pay for it. I wasn't gonna take any of it to my new place anyway, so I took down all the shelves and removed the AC and window bracket, knowing full well none of them owned a drill. let alone knew how to use one. Have fun paying it to scrap it to put it all back up. This reminds me, I once brought a TV for the break room I work at, then overheard someone complain that it only had local channels. Took the TV back home that very damn day. Not me, but a friend of mine back in our college days bought some bunk drugs. The dude who sold them did all of his dealing from some crappy track phone where they got charged for every text they sent or received. So my friend texted him thanks for the dog shit 250 times. I had a landlord who wanted to show the unit I was living in excessively, so I took up naked yoga in the living room every time he had a showing. The look of horror on the prospective tenant's face was amazing. Prospective tenant. No. Let's see where this goes. I went out with the husband of the woman my husband was having an affair with. Super petty of me, but we were both smugly satisfied when they both got upset. They had put us through hell but couldn't take it themselves. Would absolutely do it again. I made a $5 bet that one of my favorite sports teams would beat a friend's favorite sports team. I won, and he only had a $10. So instead of getting change, he tore the $10 bill in half. I took the half he gave me, which rendered both of our halves useless, and he was now out $10. Bro, I'd rather not have $10 than give you $5. My 6-year-old son had £2. He realized that he had lost one of the £1 coins. So he only went and threw the other £1 coin in anger, thus losing both. When I explained to him his stupidity, he was even angrier, lol. I used to be a manager at a lid store a few years back. One day this woman comes in to return a hat. No problem. I asked for the receipt and she stated she didn't have it and no place else required you to have a receipt. Being reasonable, I stated that if she still had the price tag we could exchange it and asked when she bought it. She said December. It was ducking May. I told her that we couldn't return the hat without either the price tag or receipt and that she had missed the 30-day window. At this point she requested the manager's number, so I gave her the store number. She called while standing there glaring at me. I answered the store phone and said thank you for calling Lids. This is the manager speaking while lifting my lanyard to show it said manager. She yelled at me for wasting her time and left the hat. This boy ghosted me hours before our movie date, so I watched it alone, took detailed notes, and texted him the synopsis out of spite. I still cringe about it. My office is really generous with free snacks. It's a great perk. A few years ago they put a 5-pound bag of gummy bears in the kitchen. Everyone took a handful or a cupful and kept it at their desk, like civilized adults who know how to share. Well, this awful co-worker went into the kitchen before leaving for the day and stuffed the whole bag into her backpack and left. I was so annoyed I took the gummy bears I had at my desk and dumped them on hers with a little note, "You forgot these." I would buy a pound of the sugar-free gummy bears. Let the people you like know that they aren't the regular ones and leave the bag in the kitchen. When I was about 14, my dad dated this disgusting, horrible woman. She would lock me outside in the middle of winter, genuinely treated me terrible, verbally abused me, etc. Plus a little bit of resentment on my part for her breaking up my dad and stepmom. This woman wore these really ugly bleach blonde hair extensions, and one day when no one was home I dunked them in the toilet after I peed in it. I swirled it around and absolutely soaked them. Then I put them in the bathroom sink and blow dried them. She wore them out at night and kept mentioning about how she could smell urine but didn't know where it was coming from. She wore those nasty things for 3 days before she washed them and ended up just throwing them away. Not my proudest moment, but no regrets. My dad's wife had the unfortunate habit of sending nasty messages to my mom. Sometimes, she chose to talk about my brother and me in these messages, calling us messed up. Once, she even dragged my mom's mother into the conversation to, I'd assume, make it sting a little more for my mom. I got sick of her shit, so I took photos of the messages, so I could address and criticize every little thing she said that was wrong, aka 90% of the messages. I put it all in a letter and gave it to her. Needless to say, she didn't appreciate that very much. But, boy, did it feel good to tell her off. I got my first car during the first year of college. It was a little 2-door Honda. But one day I was hanging out with my dad and his friends. They, for some reason, insisted on me driving them all. These 4 guys are huge, most 200 plus lbs and majority over 6 feet. It was stupid. I said it would be stupid, but we all pile in regardless and they spent the entire trip complaining about how cramped it was. I was highly annoyed, mouthing off and defending my car. It fit me, I'm short, don't care, and they did this to themselves. Stop attacking my car just because your head is brushing the roof. So when we got to the parking lot of the food place we were visiting, I saw a speed bump and I sped up. Recently had to retire that car. Had a lot of good memories, and the sound of 4 heads bonking the roof was one of the best ones. I used to buy a bunch of things for my ex because he had so many bills. I figured I'd make his life easier. Well, one night he got drunk and went off on me and called me fat and ugly and he pushed me to the ground. I ended up packing up everything I'd ever bought him. This includes things such as a custom Xbox controller, his only working controller, Beats, and bedding. However, there were some small things too, like his toothpaste or body wash. If I paid for it, it was gone. I left him without even a fitted sheet to sleep on. I didn't even want any of it back, but I was being petty and rude. Someone parked way over the line at work, so much so that it was nearly impossible to take the spot next to them. And it was super packed, so I got instantly upset and parked next to them anyway, pretty much barricading their driver's side door. I once got fired from a railroad job because I pointed at a guy who was 7 inches taller and a good 60 pounds heavier than me. He specifically told HR that he felt threatened by that. I got the dismissal papers on my birthday. He really pissed me off. A few months later, he was the engineer on a train that my buddy was working on. Buddy sent me a text while they were laying over in a station that said, "Engineer is sleeping on one of the couches in my car. WTF?" I asked my buddy to send me a picture. My friend did, so I transferred the photo to my computer, wiped the EXIF data, made a burner email, and emailed the photo to the train master, the guy highest in command for railroad operations, with the quotation from the rule book stating that sleeping while in the clock is prohibited at all times. I later found out that the engineer had to burn up his vacation time for the year just to keep his bills paid because the train master put him on unpaid suspension for 2 weeks. Not gonna lie, it felt pretty good. I was grounded from reading and all my books were taken from my room, all but the dictionary. I read it up to the letter F just to piss off my mom's ex. One time my boyfriend and I were driving home after picking up Blizzards from DQ. He ate his within 5 minutes of picking it up and mine was in the cup holder uneaten because I was driving. We were about 5 minutes from his house when he asked if he could have a bite of mine. Of course I told him he could and he ate my entire Blizzard. I honestly expected him to eat at least a quarter of it, but he was finishing off the last bite when I noticed. About 2 weeks later we were at a brunch place and he went to the bathroom to poop, so he was in there a good 15 minutes, and in that time our food came out and I ate his pancakes. I'm pregnant right now and feel like I was born with a large personal space bubble. Anytime someone touches my stomach without warning or asking, I reach out and touch theirs. The point is received. My ex relied heavily on the suggested Netflix lists. He'd get really angry if I ever watched something on his profile because it would mess with his algorithm. So after we split and he was being an asshole, I logged into Netflix and went into his profile and just played the worst stuff, in his opinion, I could find. I'd just select stuff and let it play on mute while I drank some good scotch and listened to music, rom-coms, kids shows, anything I knew he wouldn't like. When I was satisfied with his new suggestions, I logged off our former joint account and set up my own. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.